doing well. My name's Katie and I upload book-related videos every single Wednesday. In today's video, although I don't film monthly wrap-ups because I think we all know if you've watched my channel for any length of time that I don't read a ton. I read just a few books a month, so filming wrap-ups doesn't really work for me every month, and that is why I tend to review just singular spoiler-free reviews of each book I read. But I do want to start doing quarterly wrap-ups. So since we are about 3 months, a little over 3 months into the year, which is insane, I wanted to just touch very briefly on everything that I've read. And then I also have my book of the month unboxing, which I'm a little late on doing, but it's happening. And there is a wide array of some of these books, or at least one of them is my new favorite book of all time, and some of these really fell flat for me, so we're gonna all get into it. And if I do have a singular review of it, I'll make sure to link it above, and none of those reviews obviously have spoilers either. So the first book I read in 2018 is the only non-book, it's the only graphic novel, and that is Miss Don't Touch Me. I should move to the side so I have some room to actually put the pictures there. But Miss Don't Touch Me is a graphic novel that takes place in 1920s Paris. It's a murder mystery, and I like the idea of it much more than I actually ended up liking it. It just had no effect, no impact on me. Didn't care about the characters, didn't love the writing. The imagery was pretty, but I also didn't really adore it either, so it wasn't a great way to start off the year, but I'm loving what I'm reading now, which we'll get to towards the end. And then the first book I read of 2018 was some nonfiction that was Into Thin Air. I'd been meaning to read this for years. For some reason at my school it wasn't required reading like I think it was at a lot of other people's. And this one was just as gripping as I was anticipating it would be, although it did lag a little bit. I'm sure you guys know this is about the 1990s tragedy where many people died attempting to climb Mount Everest. And what really drew me in was, one, I loved his writing style, but what also really drew me in was a reading about, I hate to use the word drama for something as important as this book and something as tragic that happened, but I will say, as I'm sure you guys know if you've read it, there are a lot of people who don't agree with a lot of what John has to say in the book and who don't agree with how he described the events that happened. So you can really fall down a black hole after this, trying to navigate your way and see what the truth is. The next book is some more nonfiction, and that is The Life-Changing Magic of Tidying Up. This book took the world by storm. I want to say it was back in 2016 or 17 when this came out. And I will say I have a lot of opinions on this book. Some of the stuff that Kamari recommends I don't really recommend, but other aspects I really loved. And it's partly about organizing, but what it's also really about is just getting rid of things that you don't need, and that aspect I did really enjoy. So I do think it's worth it to check out the book and just see what all the hype is about. But again, there are a few things she recommends, and I talk about that in my full review, that I wouldn't recommend doing, but overall I did really like it. Then we have The Winter People. This is a not murder mystery, it's a mystery horror novel that takes place both in the present day and back in time in the 1800s in Vermont. I've been meaning to read one of her books for so long, as I said, and I thought her writing style was so beautiful. It wasn't as scary as maybe I wanted to read it, but if you're looking for more so of an atmospheric mystery horror novel, then I think you guys would really, really like this one. Next, we have a very hyped book, and that is The Woman in the Window. This is about a woman who has agoraphobia, and she sees something horrible happen in the apartment across from her, so she's trying to investigate what happened. I would say that the hype was mostly worth it on this one. I think I gave it 3.5 out of 5 stars. I thought it was just a little bit too long, and I didn't love the very end. I thought it ended up being a tiny bit hokey, but if you are a thriller addict, I do think you're gonna like it. Next is the memoir Is Everybody Hanging Out Without Me? I love Mindy. I love her as a person. I love a lot of her work, and that makes me very sad to say that I didn't really love this book. I don't think I gave it its own review just because I didn't have a ton to say about it. I listened to it as an audiobook when I had a long drive, and it was fun and cute, but maybe I was just hoping it would be a little bit, not deeper, but I think I was hoping it would have a little bit more substance to it than I thought it would. I did like some of what she had to say, especially about her being, you know, not the stereotypical skinny, blonde, thin girl in Hollywood and what that's like for her. But other than that, the book, it's not that it fell flat for me, it's just it wasn't exactly maybe what I was hoping or expecting it to be, so maybe that's my fault, but either way, it wasn't a favorite for me. And then we get into my Karin Slaughter phase, which is still happening, which I'll get into. But a lot of you guys had been recommending for me to read Karin Slaughter forever, so I checked out Cop Town first, which takes place in the 1970s. Two female cops who come from very different worlds and them trying to solve a murder and work together. So fun, but keep in mind, there's a lot of sexism and there's a lot of racism from the bad cops, especially considering this takes place in the 1970s, so that's just something to be wary of. But her books are so addictive, which is clear because the next book I read was also by KARIN Slaughter, and that was one of her more popular recent books, and that is Pretty Girls. I've noticed that a lot of her books either have two sisters or two females just working together. So clearly she loves writing about women working together and bonding and coming through tragedies. But this is about two sisters attempting to solve the disappearance of a girl in their town in present day, and also the disappearance of their older sister who disappeared many years ago when they were teenagers. Her books are so incredibly gritty. They're very gory, they're very hard-hitting. They're not, you know, I think for some reason when I see the cover of KARIN Slaughter books, they seem to me like they're gonna be not like James Patterson books, but just, you know what I mean? Like a fluffy thriller. It sounds like an oxymoron, but it's not. But it seems like it's gonna be that type of thriller you'll be like a little bit entertained by when you're on the plane, but they are not like that at all. They are so addictive and so well written, and I told myself I wouldn't read another KARIN Slaughter next because generally I don't read the same author so much, but I'm currently reading The Good Daughter, so that will be my next review. So now we're gonna get into the book of the month unboxing, and you guys know, same deal as every single month. I go through them, say which ones I'm interested in, and I've gotten a couple questions lately about why I get all 5 books, and it's because I'm a book of the month affiliate. So part of what I do is show you guys what's out there and then read some of the books. If I don't end up reading a few of them, I'm always good about donating them to local bookshops or to my friends, because I definitely don't want just unread books sitting on my shelves when there's someone else who could be out there enjoying them. So I'm incredibly grateful, and same spiel as every time. I have a link below if you want to pick out one of these for $5. You don't have to use the link if you don't want to, but just throwing it out there. So the first book is The Girl Who Smiled Beads, and I have little brief summaries up here, so if I'm looking away, that's what I'm looking at. And this is an eye-opening true story of two sisters who escape the Rwanda genocide and start a life anew in Chicago. I believe years and years and years ago, back when I was a teenager, I read a book about the Rwanda genocide. I can see the cover of the book, blanking on what the title is, but I haven't really revisited that subject matter since, and I definitely want to learn more about it. I know that this is going to be a very difficult read to get through. I read a lot of scary, creepy books, but most of the time those are fiction, so these are definitely a more difficult read, but obviously much more important to read, so I definitely want to check this one out. The next book is The Oracle Year, and I did look through, as I said, all of these to see what they were about, and this is the only one I'm not that interested in. This is sci-fi, and our protagonist Will Dando wakes up with the ability to predict the future and finds himself making millions, changing the world, and pissing off a lot of people. And this was to be quirky, fun, kind of movie-esque. Book of the Month's website is really good about describing what all the books are like. I could see my dad or brother really liking this one, so I might see if one of them are interested. Again, not saying it looks bad, just not my cup of tea. So this next one I am so excited about, and that is Circe. This is set in the world of ancient Greek mythology, and my middle and high school was weirdly obsessed with really drilling Greek mythology into our brains. So there's something very nostalgic about reading a book like this. And it's also not something I would generally gravitate towards reading, so I think it'll be a lot of fun. But it tells the tale of Circe, who is a fierce strong woman, half titan, half nymph. And it talks a lot about how she was kind of a strange child. She wasn't powerful like her father or kind of alluring like her mother. But she does have witchcraft abilities, and apparently it has a very feminist and empowering spin. So I just could not be more excited about this one. And then we have a couple of thrillers. First is Then She Was Gone, and this is about a woman whose perfect 15-year-old daughter disappears, and then years later, how many years later is it? And then years later, the mother still kind of trying to get over, not that you can ever get over the disappearance of one of your children, but you know what I mean. She's attempting to move on, and she meets a man and falls in love with him, falls head over heels very, very quickly and kind of abnormally for her, I get the impression. And then she meets his daughter, and something strange happens. And I can't tell by the really short blurb, like, does she think his daughter is her daughter that went missing? I can't tell, that's just me guessing from the really tiny blurb. Does she think he was somehow involved? I don't know. And because I read so many thrillers, I'm probably gonna read the first chapter of this and the next one, which I'm gonna get into, and see which one I'm more interested in. And then the next book is Our Kind of Cruelty. Now, you guys know I'm very sick of books saying on the front, if you liked Gillian Flynn, ... That irritates me. What's on the front doesn't irritate me that much because it says I loved it right down to the utterly chilling final line, and that is a Gillian Flynn quote. So it's Gillian Flynn approved, which I don't find as irritating as them just saying it reminds them of Gillian Flynn. But this is apparently, how to describe it, it says that this is a Gillian Flynn approved tale of a twisted sex game that happens when obsession goes too far. They had me at sex game, which I'm gonna be honest, it's been like 7 months since I've been on a date, so I'm kind of drawn to this book. But it seems like from the brief summary that the woman whose name is Verity has a lot of control over this man named Mike, and she kind of made him the way that he is. I assume the sex game's between them, but then she's off getting married to someone else. I'm not sure. The summary doesn't give too much away, which is always good. You don't see a lot of book of the month books that are centered around a twisted sex game, so you know, that's a little intriguing. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Please let me know, number one, do you want me to keep doing quarterly wrap-ups, because this isn't something I've really done in the past, and also definitely let me know which of these you would like me to see next once I get past my Karin Slaughter phase, even though I don't know if that's gonna happen, but I am gonna promise myself after I finish The Good Daughter to stop reading Karin Slaughter, at least for a couple books, just so that I can have some more variety on this channel. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Make sure to hit the bell icon down below if you want to be notified the next time I post, and I'll see you guys next Wednesday.